Thank you. What I'm going to do first, before we open our Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting, is I'm going to call to order a public hearing for two items, the local government economic assistance and county road aid, as well as Greenbelt extension. So let's have a seat and we'll do that. County Treasurer Hendricks, do you want to kind of tell us what we're doing on this local government economic assistance, the LGEA and the county road aid?
Yes, sir. As part of the budgeting process, state requires us to hold a public hearing. Today's public hearing is for public comments regarding the use of the funds from the local government economic assistance fund and the county road aid fund. I can tell you that the budget currently assumes that all those monies are used for the maintenance and construction of county roads and bridges.
Okay. So we have a few folks from the public out here. Is there anyone with the public that would like to comment on the use of those funds? Jenny, let the record show that no one stepped forward. The next item is the Greenbelt extension project. And what this is, Mark, why don't you tell us, or do you want to tell us, so I can do it? Tell us what we're talking about.
I can, Judge.
Okay.
We're anticipating putting in an application for some RTP funds to extend the Greenbelt where it left off, going from the hospital towards Daniels Lane. We ended at Daniels Lane. Our goal is to eventually connect that to Yellow Creek Park. So we're going to be putting in an application to go from Daniels Lane to at least Reed Road, if not all the way to Yellow Creek Park with this project.
Okay. And what we're doing tonight is we're holding a public hearing to see if there's any comment again by the public on not so much the application, but on the Greenbelt extension itself. We don't have we know the beginning point. It's the end of the existing Greenbelt. We do not have a route. We don't have an ending point because it's all going to depend upon negotiation with landowners and depend upon how much money we get. There will be, I'm assuming, a portion that the county will have to provide either in there we go, either in kind or cash.
That is correct.
Okay. Anyone in the public wish to comment on the Greenbelt extension project?
And Judge, I know
Yes,
in
sir.
the past, since COVID's hit, we've live streamed, and I think this meeting's being live streamed, so are you gonna hold these comments?
We
over or no?
are not going to, the only comments we're going to take tonight on Facebook Live, since we've opened the courtroom up, would be any comments regarding the first presentation that we had with Conexon and Broadband. Okay. Let the record show no one from the public stepped forward to comment. So with that, we're going to close the public meeting. Jenny, note that it closed at whatever time it is. And now, we'll do this again. I want to call the May 5th, 2022 Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting to order. Commissioner Castlen, will you lead us in a prayer and pledge?
I will. Dear Heavenly Father, we pause on this National Day of Prayer. We thank you for the many blessings you bestowed on us as a nation, as a community, and as individuals. We ask you to hear the prayers that were prayed across this nation today during the different events, the many, many events that happened across this nation. We ask your blessing upon our country. We ask your blessing upon the work we do this evening and the citizens we serve. We pray these things in the name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner, and once again, I want to welcome everyone to our May 5th, 2022 Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting. We have this first presentation that Jenny's going to announce here in a minute. We will take questions from the public on Facebook, as well as anyone that's in the audience. And this is regarding a contract and use of ARPA funds for broadband through Daviess County. So Jenny, go ahead.
Item 1, consideration for presentation, A Conexon Broadband Fiber Project.
Commissioners, we have with us Jonathan Chambers from Conexon this evening. In just a second, I'm going to ask Jonathan to come up to the mic and give us a brief explanation of how, what, when, where, and not so much why. I'm going to ask our treasurer or Jordan Johnson to kind of recap what we are doing or the process that we went through in deciding to use some of our ARPA funds to provide broadband to rural Daviess County.
Certainly, Judge.
And if Jonathan if Jordan stumbles a little bit, I didn't ask him ahead of time, so he's doing this on the fly.
As a full recap, in October of '21, the RFP for fiber construction was released. We asked for the required subsidy for a company to develop a plan for the construction of an expanded network to provide connections in all areas within the county. In December of '21, the fiscal court selected Conexon as our successful respondent. In January of '22, Morley and Associates was selected as a consultant firm to prepare and negotiate a contract with Conexon. Negotiations spanned through February of '22, with the final agreement completed in March of '22 and signed by Conexon on April 1st of '22. In this contract, the county will provide $10 million of ARPA funds for Conexon to make available fiber internet service to 100% of Kenergy's electric membership that falls outside of the service area of OMU in Daviess County, Kentucky. The project will be completed within 18 months and paid out on a percentage of completion basis. The project area encompasses 15,000 to 20,000 household and business locations.
Brief description. So in other words, we're going to take $10 million of ARPA funds and we're going to provide it or we're going to use that to provide broadband to customers that otherwise we're not in a dense enough population to entice the private sector to come out with broadband.
That is correct.
Okay. Jonathan, it's nice to see you again. If you don't mind, come up, just do a brief introduction about yourself and then kind of tell us what the project's going to do, a little bit about the timeline and where it's going to be. I think you have a few slides that you're going to show. And then Jordan Rowe, if you get any questions over the Facebook, then let us know, flash them up to me and I'll give them to Jonathan. Jonathan, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much. It's good to be back here. It's always good to see you, Judge. I do have a short presentation, and we'll take questions. I'll take questions anywhere along the presentation if you'd like, but I'm going to try to cover the basics through this presentation, and then I'll stay as long as you'd like me to answer questions.
Thank you.
You get to the first slide, not the cover slide. I'm going to start with just describing a little bit about Conexon, since I don't expect there are many people in Daviess County or in Kentucky for that matter who know about Conexon. We're a company that was formed about 7 years ago by my business partner, Randy Clint. Randy, at the time, was building a fiber optic network in rural Missouri as an employee of an electric cooperative there, a co-op called Como Electric. Randy had this idea about how to build in areas of the country that were otherwise unserved by broadband. His idea was also that since he grew up on a farm in Missouri, he spent his whole life living and working in rural Missouri and being frustrated by the lack of broadband. Randy is a software developer and had difficulty getting a couple of businesses off the ground because of the lack of internet access on the farm, internet access in the areas where he was living, while that internet access was available in towns and cities. So Randy had this kind of mission to bring the same quality of high-speed internet access to rural areas as is available in urban and suburban areas. And he found a couple of cooperatives that were willing to work with him. He became the general manager of a couple of co-op fiber businesses, the first of which was this one in rural Missouri. Randy started building fiber networks where nobody thought it was possible. Randy launched the first gigabit service in rural Missouri just a few months after Google had launched gigabit service in Kansas City, Missouri. And when I met Randy, he was building networks, and I was working at the Federal Communications Commission. I was the head of the FCC's Office of Strategic Planning at a time when the FCC was attempting to change their subsidy programs from support for voice services to support for broadband services. And we were looking at ways to do that. Our conclusion when I was in the leadership of the FCC was that the only thing worth spending the public's money on was fiber to the home networks. Why? Because fiber networks are the present and the future. Fiber networks provide capacity that is unmatched by any other technology, and fiber networks are built to last, 30, 40, 50-year networks. And we thought that was a better use of public funds, which is in part why I'm not just pleased to be working with you all, but pleased of your recognition of an investment into a 30, 40, 50-year network. The investment that you all are making is going to benefit your generation, your kids' generation, your grandkids, your great-grandkids. The networks will last as long as the electric networks that were built in the 1930s in rural areas. So when I joined up with Randy, the reason I joined with him is we shared the same mission. We agreed that if we could take what he had done in Missouri and bring that same initiative to other electric co-ops around the country, we could start building fiber and demonstrate that you could build fiber networks anywhere in the country. So in the last 7 short years, we've worked with over 200 electric co-ops in the country, including Kenergy, which is the service provider throughout Daviess County and throughout a lot of this part of Kentucky. We today do several things. We manage construction of fiber networks, and we have a construction company ourselves. We assist electric co-ops in setting up internet businesses. That is, we teach them how to set up an internet business. We provide support to companies across the country, electric co-ops who run their own internet businesses, tech support, call center support, and marketing support, and the other piece parts necessary to run an internet business. We are today building and managing the construction of over 1,000 miles of fiber optic networks each and every week. We have under contract to build out about 10% of the country with fiber optic networks. This is our first project in Kentucky. We're in over half the country today, but this is our first project in the state of Kentucky, and we couldn't be happier to be here. In part because of what we intend to do rapidly here in Daviess County, in part because one of our principal partners in constructing networks is a company that's located in Union County, and it's a company called Irvin Cable Construction, and I can't sing their praises enough. They were with Randy at Como over a decade ago, building out this very first fiber network. They will be here with us in Daviess County, building out the network here. They are far and away the best construction firm when it comes to building fiber optic networks. They have worked for Google, they have worked for Charter. If you ask them, what do they prefer doing? They prefer working in rural America, working with rural electric co-ops, building fiber networks to people that don't have service. That's their preference, that's our preference, and their ability to start a project here in their home is something that really ought to, is enthusiastically met within the Irvin family. So that's who we are.
Jonathan, just a second.
Yeah.
And I would say to the public that's listening to what Jonathan just said, he just gave you part of the reason why we chose Jonathan and Conexon to go with and to start this project. They know what they're doing. They have the materials and the labor ready to go, and they can get boots on the ground immediately. I think you told us the day after we signed the contracts, you started working the project. And that's pretty important, particularly as more and more money hits the market and more people want to start these kinds of projects. If you are last in, that means you're going to be the last to get the product. So it's pretty important, and I'm pretty proud of the fact that we're going to be your first customer in Kentucky.
Yes, and just to echo that, as far as materials, labor supply, there are really there are 2-3 principal reasons why some projects move slowly. Some folks don't have access to materials. We manage projects for electric co-ops, and we purchase, and then the co-ops purchase through our contracts over 1,000 miles a week. We have purchased, last year, we purchased over 50,000 miles of fiber optic cable. We will purchase closer to 60,000 miles this year. We'll get up to 100,000 miles a year before too long. The labor, though, is a market that will continue to tighten as the federal government spends money, either through the American Rescue Plan Act or the Infrastructure Act. Having a home base for one of the great construction companies gives you all an advantage that very few have.
Those guys can go home at night.
They can
For the
come
most,
go home at
yeah.
night. I say that maybe they're listening in. I expect, because they don't have to pay for hotels and apartments
Right.
for their workers. They don't have to pay the same, gas prices for travel. They don't have to reimburse people for their restaurant bills. They're at home. We ought to get a better price from them.
And so should we. Oh, sorry. You opened that up, counselor.
No, here's what they will tell you, that's the reason they'll be able to build fast.
Yeah.
They also have a training facility in Sturgis, and that training facility is what allows them to train what will be the current next group out that will be constructing these networks. So part of the reason I'm confident in the pace we have described to you, construction, the pace throughout the Kenergy electric territory footprint, is because I believe Irvin will be able to continue to train folks from here to work here in jobs that will allow them to be in the fiber construction business, which is a great business for years and years to come, because there's going to be that much construction going on. So I think it also has these, what we're doing with you all has some ancillary economic benefits to the entire region, because the industry, the country needs more trained construction workers in this type of business. They'll be able to be trained here over in Sturgis, and they'll be able to work here for the next several years, and then be able to work in other parts of the country as those jobs are across the country. So that's a really, really big deal. I work all over the country, and I'm always asked when we start a project by county councils and others, are there going to be jobs here? And I usually say, well, we're bringing in people who are already trained, and we're bringing them from Kentucky, or we're bringing them from Georgia or somewhere. In this case, I think we'll be training new people here to have these jobs, which will allow them to continue working in a field that is a growing field. The other part about, I'll just make this because you alluded to this as well. We're going to build throughout the entirety of the county. But as I'll show you in a map in a few minutes, we're going to build first where people don't have service. That's in our DNA. That's in what Randy Clint wanted to do from the beginning. The way I always think of it is that old ball player from the, I don't even remember, 30s, 40s, 50s, Wee Willie Keeler, who had a great batting average, and when asked about his philosophy of hitting, he said, hit them where they ain't. And that's our philosophy of building networks. Build them where they ain't. We will eventually build and compete with Charter or Spectrum, whatever name they want to go by these days. We will eventually build and compete against other companies, but the first place we'll be building, there's no competition for a fiber network, because as you'll see, the services we offer at the prices we offer are there's nothing comparable in large parts of the county. So as I said, that's who we are. I'm sure most people, and they don't care who I am. What they want to know about is what's on these next couple of slides. So if you move to the next one, that's just, that's some of our clients. That's not all, 50, 60, 80, 100 or so that we're working with. But again, we're new here, but we're building from Oregon to Florida, from New Hampshire down to Texas. We're building across the country today. The next one is probably what most people would want to know, I guess. I mean, I would. What is the service? So we offer 3 tiers of internet service. 100 megabit per second symmetrical service, and I'll talk for a second about what symmetrical service means. So you get the same download and upload speeds. Same speeds downstream as you get upstream, because that's what you get with a fiber optic network. Other types of technologies, other transmission medium, you'll get asymmetric speeds. You'll get slower upload speeds, because spectrum in a cable system, spectrum in a wireless system is devoted more to download. In the old days, that's the way people thought and planned networks. Folks are going to download meaning coming from the internet back down to your home, to your device, to your laptop, to your phone. The download speeds have traditionally been faster speeds, because that's the way that people thought about the internet. Oh, somebody's going to stream video. Somebody's going to download a document. Somebody's going to take in what the internet has to offer, and the upload speeds are slower in most technologies, certainly in cable, DSL, that is a copper-based technology, wireless technologies, the satellite technologies have a slower upload speed. Again, the rationale being, well, it's slower because people don't need it. All right, well, we're in a different world today. We're in a world where people work from home increasingly. Certainly, COVID demonstrated that there was a desire of people to work from home, and in the post-COVID period, if we're there now or ever get there, that desire remains. To work from home, you need upload speeds too. If you're going to participate in work, if you're going to be a creator at home or in some place you care about what you're uploading to the internet. And while people will tell you, like, well, maybe, like a cable company will tell you, you can get away with 10 megabits per second or 20 megabits per second upload. People don't need it. That's what I always heard when I was at the FCC. People don't need it. What you're promoting, Chambers, people don't need it. I had a different view. People need what they're willing to pay for. That's their own decision with their own pocketbook. We offer symmetrical speeds. So 100 megabits per second download, 100 megabit per second upload, we sell for $49.95. We sell that where we offer service today. That's what we'll sell here. No gimmicks, no promotions, no pricing for 3 months that will change on you. This is always the same price. We've been offering this price. Randy was before I joined him for over a decade. We'd never changed that price. Gigabit for $79.95. Same thing. Gigabit down, gigabit up. And 2 gigabit per second symmetrical speeds, 2 gigabits per second download, 2 gigabits per second upload for $99.95. So, as I've mentioned a couple of times, we only work in rural America. And I used to hear when I was in the federal government that rural America, we could get a speed to rural America that was good enough for rural America. Good enough just a few years ago from the federal government's point of view was 4 megabits per second down, 1 megabit per second up. Good enough then became 10 megabits per second down, 1 megabit per second up. And these days, the good enough speed is 25 megabits per second down, 3 megabits per second up. You can see in our pricing, in our tiers, we don't offer those speeds. That's too slow. What is good enough for rural America? What we're showing you here. How do I know that? Because when we offer these services, where we offer these services, a third of our customers take 2 gigabit per second speeds. A third of the customers take 1 gigabit, and a third of our customers take 100 megabit per second speeds. My analysis of that is simple. It's evenly distributed wherever we operate, and to me, people are buying what they need. You give them options. A third of our customer base is taking 2 gigabits per second speed. And when I've been asked occasionally, well, what do people need 2 gigabits for? I say, it doesn't matter to me. People can use the internet for whatever they want. They buy what they want, we give them choices. This is a true speed, by the way. These are true speeds, gigabit, 100 megabit per second. I know as part of our agreement with you, we will provide you not just the demonstration of where service is available and when the service is available, and you'll know what our pricing is, but the speeds too.
When you say true speed, I'm assuming, as an example, a wireless, they may offer 25 gigabyte, but when everybody comes home at 5 o'clock in the evening and start using it, it often is choked down.
That's exactly.
This is 100 at 5 p.m., 100 at midnight, 100 at
Yes.
6 a.m. We
We design these networks so that every person that subscribes to the service will be able to get that service. If you think about it, it actually isn't that complicated an analysis as to why slower service offerings actually have more trouble and more congestion, because people have to stay on that service longer if they're downloading something. If you download a movie, for example, and your connection is giving you 10 megabits per second, it's going to take you a while. Let's say if it's a 4K movie or a high-def movie, certainly if it's an 8K movie, you're never going to get it. If you have gigabit or 2 gigabit, the movie is downloaded not quite instantaneously, but like that. So you're using the internet for less time, and the internet is available then to others.
And if you're live streaming, that's why you have a freeze or a pause on the lower speeds, where the higher
Right.
speeds.
You may have,
You never know.
at the same time, everybody knows this, if they stream movies or other things and they get buffering, there are a lot of other, there may be other reasons within your home. There may be a Wi-Fi connection. There may be things that you would analyze, but the connection to the home, yeah, that's a true speed. So we also, we also offer phone service. Offering phone service is a requirement in receiving federal funds. We are receiving federal funds in a small part of Daviess County as part of the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund auction. So we're required to offer phone service. We're happy to offer phone service. There are places, especially in rural areas, where the cell phone service is not adequate, and so having a home phone service, either for security, for necessary, is people still take home phone service. So that offering is still available, but clearly the reason we're in this business and the reason people take our service is because of the quality of fiber optic networks. So the other, I'll make one more comment, because there's a line in there I put on this slide. saying we're committed to affordable monthly pricing. This pricing is affordable for most people. We also participate in a new and critical new program for low-income households, something called the Affordable Connectivity Program. It came out of the Infrastructure Act, and so was put in place in January of this year, and it's a program administered by the Federal Communications Commission. It is a $30 a month subsidy for broadband as a pass-through amount to any qualifying household, and the qualifying household, think of as any household where the annual income is twice the poverty line or below, so around $55,000, $56,000 or below, will qualify for a $30 a month subsidy. That means each of these prices is simply reduced by $30. There's not, like some tricky administrative fee that makes it. So 100 megabit per second speeds for an eligible household, $19.95 a month.
The subsidy, how's that obtained? Is that by the individual going directly to, or is that through, you guys will be operating this thing? So is that, would that be the customer contacting you and then you handling that for them?
Yeah, so any household has to sign up directly through the provider, but has to provide the documentation to the Federal Communications Commission, which runs the program. We assist people in filling out those documents and making sure they're verified and been accepted and all of that. So the funding is between the internet service provider and the federal government. The requirement on the internet service provider is to pass along that amount, that $30, as a direct discount on any of the bills. So you can apply it to any service tier, to any broadband service.
Pretty simple. Once you qualify, once you provide all the documentation, you pick it out and you take $30 off of it, and everything else is between you and the whatever governmental entity is providing the service.
That's right. Okay. So as a,
Know up front when they're applying that this program exists?
We do. And let me explain why. I've said several times, we only work in rural America. We work in some of the poorest parts of the country. We work in rural Mississippi, we work in rural Louisiana, and rural Arkansas, and rural Oklahoma. I know, because I always look at these statistics, I know what the average household is in the areas we work. In the areas we work, 50, 60, 70% of the households qualify for this subsidy. So for us we're required to let people know about it, but it's a little different. Like if we weren't not just letting people know, but making sure they understood the program, making sure that if they're eligible, that they take advantage of the program, and that's just like leaving money on the table.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the table here I'm talking about, that's the kitchen table in people's homes. It's not my table.
That's Commissioner, it's kind of like if you know that the federal government writes you a check for X number of customers times $30 every month, that's a pretty good cash flow you know you're going to get, and you're going to get it on time.
Right, so we view it as a way to make service affordable so people can remain our customers, no matter their economic situation. Right. If you combine a high-speed internet service with a streaming video service, I don't know, if Dish TV is watching, I had Dish in my rural home, I dropped Dish. You can drop your DirecTV or Dish TV service, get a streaming service, and spend about the same or less money on high-speed internet and some television streaming service. So it's really important that you get that $30 if you're financially stressed, because that $30 might make the difference between whether you can afford something else that month. There's nothing you can do about the gas prices except drive less. But you should take advantage of the $30, and that's why we let people know at the time that they're applying, or what they're trying to subscribe with us. We let them know about this program. We help them work through the federal government's documents, because it's the federal government, and we make sure that they know the times that they would have to resubmit documents annually, or other time periods. So we stress that because of where we work. It's less important in some places in the country.
So we know what it's going to cost.
So the next slide is the, for many, I guess. No, we put this map together based on data from the Federal Communications Commission, NTIA, which is an agency in the Department of Commerce that is going to be administering the $42.5 billion infrastructure money for rural broadband, and the state of Kentucky's crowdsourcing information. I can't, attest to the accuracy of the data, but we used several data sources in order to identify where in the county was the most unserved. So it's probably difficult to see all of the keys in there, but red, the sort of red and purplish pink colors, those are the most unserved parts of the county.
Those are census tracts.
These are, each of those polygons you'll see is a census block.
Census tract.
Pardon me, so census block is slightly smaller than a tract. Okay. So this is data drawn from these other sources and color-coded by census block. Right. There may be individual homes in the served, what is labeled as served here, that don't have service, but this is, again, this to us is a guide as to where we should start.
I think, Jonathan, the thing that we should let people know is it's all over the board. It's very confusing. Different groups of folks, including the government, the federal government, the state government, have different data. The state tried to do a speed check throughout all 120 counties, but this is taking the current data at hand and distilling it down. This is the best map that you could come up with.
It is, and even to we also applied for state funding in the state broadband program, and I get myself in trouble for saying this, but that's nothing new. We just found out yesterday that a couple of our applications for funding in Daviess County, that they were challenged by a service provider saying there was service, broadband service there. And what we used to determine where to apply, we used the Kentucky broadband map, or served, unserved map. And we got a notification back from the state saying, your areas have been challenged. Would you please demonstrate to us that these are really unserved? Again, this is us using the state information and the state coming back to us asking us to prove their information.
It's not an exact science.
It's not an exact science. So, look, I'm showing this really to make one point, which is, you can tell, and you might know this even if you didn't look at a map, that the most unserved and the greater parts of unserved territory in the county are around the outline, around the border of the county, around the fringes of the county. This gets to my point about where we're going to start. So as was mentioned by Jordan, our commitment to you is to build a network in 18 months. We're going to start in the areas that don't have service. So we're going to start in the, you see like that area over in the southeast, which really sticks out like a, sore thumb there, that red there. You can see the areas similarly on the southwestern side. We're going to start where people lack service. Part of that is because that's what we do. That's what we always do. Part of it is, look, it's easier to sign up customers where they don't have service. We will eventually build out everywhere, including areas that are served with a cable service, charter service, with better quality AT&T service. We'll build to all of the places, but we know that where we start are the people most in need, the people that have gone not just through the COVID period, but before that without any real options. They're the people who need it now. And you know, now really means last year, the year before that. We can't get the service there fast enough. So that's where we're starting. Other people have options, and other people, man, I guarantee you this, other people will start to hear from Charter and others. You'll start to benefit as well, even if we don't get to you next year. I mean, until next year. You'll start to benefit because Charter will start contacting you, offering you discounts on your current service.
Already happened.
So long as you sign a 2-year agreement.
Already happened.
So long as you sign a long-term agreement. So, you know, it'd be difficult to calculate with any precision, but your decision as a, you know, as a council, your decision has already provided real economic benefit to the residents of Daviess County because they've been getting a discount on their cable bills. I can't tell people to hold off and not sign, you know, sign a long-term contract. I can tell people we'll be there. You're not going to have to wait years and years for us. We'll be there. But again, where we'll be first, our folks, all they have today is maybe satellite or a copper-based DSL service. You've seen what our pricing is. I'm not going to change that pricing because somebody drops their pricing. You'll have that same pricing. Now, when we offer service next year, the year after that, you'll have that pricing from us. We don't think we have to provide any gimmicks. We got one gimmick. We're going to provide high-quality service at an affordable price. We think that's, you know, that's the way we approach it.
So we know where you think you're gonna start. We know you've already started engineering, working on the system. When can these folks expect to see you out in their areas? Out in these, I guess the southwest and the southeast part of the county?
So the first piece of work that people will see are, there's a type of work that's called make-ready engineering, make-ready construction, what that means. And you'll see people on poles, sometimes changing out poles. The evaluation of a pole as to whether there's a clearance issue. Let's say the pole isn't tall enough, so when you would put fiber on the pole, it would interfere with traffic. So there's always some poles that need to be changed out. There's other work, transformers have to be moved. That work starts first, because once the poles are ready, the next stage is that the mainline construction crews come in. You'll see these trucks labeled Irvin Cable Construction, and they'll be building the fiber on the poles. Most of this, especially in the early days, is going to be on poles because in the more rural areas, most electric service is provided on electric networks that are on poles. So you'll see the work being done on poles. The way we construct networks is to replicate an electric system. As I mentioned, we work with electric co-ops. The electric co-op here is Kenergy. Kenergy is a partner of ours. In this case, Kenergy, these are Kenergy's poles. We will be on Kenergy's poles. The fiber itself, I might have mentioned this before or should have, the fiber network is going to be owned by Kenergy, which means it's going to be owned by the people who live here. Maybe not Owensboro, you have to be a Kenergy member, but the people who are members of Kenergy You will own the fiber. We will then lease the fiber from Kenergy and make the service available to the members. So we'll own the electronics, we'll install the service in people's homes, it'll be our call center, our tech support, our billing system, our service provision. We are a certified provider in the state of Kentucky. We are a certified provider before the FCC. We're the ones that process the payments from the low-income program, all that sort of thing. But I'm going to emphasize this point for a second, because this is what we do all across the country. We think it's better for the people who live in an area to own the network. They'll own it today, they'll own it next year, you'll own the network for as long as that electric network is around.
So, first question you answered, who will own the fiber? So it's going to be the members of that co-op, Kenergy.
Yep.
And it's going to be leased back to operate the system. And you pretty much answered the second question. It says, will private right-of-ways, permits, construction, and customer contacts be obtained in those 18 months? Well, you don't have to obtain, I'm assuming you already have agreements with Kenergy for pole attachments, all those things. And you and I had talked the other day, you're going to be following the electric grid.
We follow the electric grid. We build, so again, where we came from, how we were formed, what we as a company were built to do was to build fiber optic smart grid networks for electric utilities, electric co-ops, really, principally, where the electric co-op not only owns the fiber, there's a reason the co-op owns the fiber. The co-op owns the fiber so that it can use the communications network for electric purposes, to manage the communications network. Smart grid is the term that gets used. Smart grid means a lot of things, but think of it as control of the network. The electric devices on the network, someday the electric devices both on the network, on the electric utility side of the meter, and people's devices on their side of the meter to better manage energy resources. So Kenergy has a real need for use of the fiber network. That's not only why Kenergy is going to own the network, they're going to make use of the network, and that goes along with the question of rights of way and everything else. This is fiber that is built in the electric space for electric purposes, and that is, so when I said before we follow the electric network, I mean that absolutely. We build starting at substations, and we build down electric circuits or electric feeders. We build to every meter location that's on an electric system. And so that service, then fiber service, internet service, is available anywhere there's an electric meter. That's so the electric co-op has use of the fiber, and it's so that we can also make internet service available.
So that, again, another question, can you piggyback off any poles already installed by Kenergy? The answer is yes, as long as they meet the correct specifications.
Exactly.
For pole attachment.
Exactly. We'll be on Kenergy's poles where Kenergy has poles. Where Kenergy is underground with their electric network, we'll go underground. We just follow, like in a way, you think of it, our job is it's kind of easy in this sense. We've never had to figure out where to go. Like, we don't have to map out where are the homes, what roads go to those homes, how do we start, how do we get from this home to another home, how do we build a network? No, we take the current design of an electric network and then we follow that. Our routes are already set for us. They were set decades ago in many places. And so we follow that network, follow it on poles, follow it underground. We go to the side of the house where there's an electric meter, if that's where the electric meter is. If the electric line is buried between the road and the house, we bury it. If there's a secondary line that's aerial, we go aerial. We try to make our fiber network look exactly like the electric network.
So you mirror the electric network.
Absolutely.
So let's go back. You never answered the question I asked. That very good as an attorney. When do you think we'll see some
Yeah.
of these services turned on?
So the make-ready process should take several months before we would start mainline construction. From the like moment we begin mainline construction to turning on service in that first feeder is usually a few months. So from today, if we get everything, we've got everything started now, I expect sometime this fall, late fall, I'll publicly make you a promise. Before you leave office, we will have service in Daviess County.
Well, that pleases me, but as long as what I'm hearing you say, barring Hurricane Ike coming through, those kinds of things, by the end of the year, we should start seeing some of our rural citizens with internet service.
Yes, and we don't have
Broadband.
we don't have to complete the whole
Right.
network. We'll let people know in the months ahead of time when their particular circuit is being built. So they'll know when they might be able to sign up for service. And it's at that time we'll let them know some of the other things like the availability of the Affordable Connectivity Program, that sort of thing. We do try to, target where we're building and when we're building it there with letting people know. It makes business sense, of course, but otherwise there's just all this uncertainty. We'll have a portal on a website where people can go to check the progress and be able to sign up for service as it's being made available.
As we look at the map, you see red, purple, and green. The green is where service is supposed to exist already. You're not going to, if you've got to go through green to get red to red.
Great question. So if I overlaid this map with a map of the electric network, you'd see that the feeders go in and out of these census blocks, whatever the color might be on our map. We just follow the feeder.
Right.
So yes, it's likely, even though I said earlier, you might, if you have Spectrum service, you might not see us until next year. Well, you can see there's likely service in some of these same areas where we'll begin building, because as you say, it's not like we stop at the census block border. We just follow the route of the electric circuit. So yes, we will build in and out of served and unserved areas wherever the electric lines happen to go.
As you do that, so I'm building a service, I'm following the grid, we've got to make drops to the individual meters or houses. Does that drop cost the customer anything other than the 49 or the 79 or 99 initially? So if you're going through there first, or is there a point once you've built the system and somebody decides to get on 5 years from now, would there be a fee then for that hookup to be made?
Yeah, so we will initially let people know that there's a time when the crews are going to be in the area, mainline construction crews, followed by service drop crews, that when those drop crews are in the area, that's the best time as a matter of efficiency for people to sign up. So we are trying to encourage the efficiency of the construction by not having an installation charge in that period of time. Because if you think, as we're moving around the system, we're moving crews around the system. And so if you can have, crews move down a circuit, stay on that circuit to do all the service drops before they move to a different part of the network, it's more efficient for us. So we do try to encourage that behavior by saying, well, if you sign up in this period of time while we've got crews out there, there's no service charge. So usually our installation charge is $100.
Okay.
It's not.
But
like,
at some point,
yeah.
at some point, once the crews have left here and they're in another territory, it's harder. I mean, there's going to be an associated cost, and it's going to be more expensive. So as they're in your area, it would behoove them to go ahead and sign up.
Exactly right. Part of this is we are, we always explain this to electric co-ops that are building and operating their own network. It's the members' network. The members own the network. The members get paid by us. We share revenue with the electric co-op. So the members of the co-op benefit from their fellow members also signing up for service because they get paid by us and they get a piece of the revenue that we earn from selling internet service. So we try to encourage that the co-op think of this network in a similar way to the way they thought of the electric network. This is a one for all for one proposition.
But I want folks to absolutely understand, if they're happy with whomever they have,
They stay where they
they
want.
stay with their current provider. There is no push, no beat up. We don't turn your power off. We don't send somebody out to jiggle with the
Nothing like
service, any of that. It's
Yeah.
absolutely your choice.
Unlike that silly line of years ago in the healthcare debate, you can keep your own doctor. You can keep your own service provider. There's nothing that we, can or would do. Well, it's your choice. This is a competitive business.
Right.
It's always going to be a competitive business because there's always going to be satellites or fixed wireless or something, whatever somebody dreams up. We like the business because we have a superior product. But, some people, now I was in the telecom business and the internet business in the early days. And there used to be a company called AT&T. It's not the same company right now. AT&T used to be this long-distance provider after Ma Bell was broken up. There were people that kept AT&T's long-distance service rather than choose MCI, rather than choose Sprint. There are people that kept those Black Princess phones for years and years and paid AT&T for them. There's just people who are fine with the way things are, and they're not looking for a change.
They're comfortable.
And that's fine. There's no argument. Where we build usually, though, the service we're offering is revolutionary compared to what people have had access to. And again, the difference in being, we work with electric co-ops. We provide support services to electric co-ops across the country, meaning customer support, our call center that we have in Kansas City, tech support. We know that members of an electric co-op expect a different quality of service than members of a different electric utility, and than people who subscribe to AT&T or a cable company. We know they expect a different level of service. That's the way we built these networks. So we hope to earn people's business. We're not a monopoly. Right. We don't have any way to force people to take service. We start every single project we work on, we start with zero market share by definition. Where we provide service, we have found we get 30 to 50% subscription within a few months. That should tell you how hungry people are to something that's better.
Well, I think it's a pretty smart business model, and I want to thank the commissioners up here for being prescient enough to take a once in a lifetime amount of money, the ARPA funds, and spend a goodly portion to provide service to those people who otherwise would not have gotten it, or certainly wouldn't get it as quickly as other areas. And I mean, you got anything else for us? Questions? I see questions.
I've got two,
Yes,
if
sir.
I could throw them out. I'm curious, and it's strictly a curiosity thing, but if you're starting out in the outskirts of the county where they're totally unserved, how do you get your connection to the internet that the citizens are going to be benefiting from? I'm just...
Yeah, so we
because there's not one now.
So I can't give this answer because I don't know for sure. I can't give it in this way because I don't know for sure. But we look, as an initial stage, we look for all of the ways we can get to an internet exchange point, meaning we'll look at AT&T service. So we just have to find a place where we can lease a circuit from AT&T to get us to an internet exchange point. Or, this is the part I was hesitating on because, again, I understand a little bit about the politics of this thing. There may be Kentucky Wired facilities for us to connect us. So Kentucky Wired is a backbone. It's a middle mile network.
And
It
I was
built
wondering if
to
that
do
was
this
part
work.
of what we were connecting to.
Look, I'd love if there is.
But that's been a boondoggle at some
It has
level.
been a boondoggle.
So, we're trying to deliver affordable prices, which means we search for an affordable connection back to an internet exchange point. We've never failed to find multiple providers who will take us back to an internet exchange point. Zayo Level 3, which was acquired by CenturyLink, had built nationwide middle mile networks. AT&T as a separate business, that's a middle mile business that's not connected to their, it's all part of AT&T, but they will sell you transport back to an internet exchange point, even if you're competing with them for their customers. So, and Kentucky Wired, perhaps. So we will find not just one route, but we will find, duplicate routes, that is a diversity of routes in case fiber gets cut, not our fiber, but their fiber gets cut. You want to be able to route traffic back to an internet exchange point in more than one way.
Okay.
Eventually, we're just going to ride our own network, because the network that is Kenergy's network is connected all to each other. So we will, and by eventually, I only mean a few years from now, we'll have connectivity, say, between the furthest part over in, like Sturgis. We'll have connectivity between Sturgis and here, riding all on the network that we will build.
Okay.
So eventually, we'll just ride on our own network and take somebody's DIA, the direct internet access, wherever we want to along the network in any county we might be.
Okay.
But to start out, you're exactly right. We need to locate a place, and we got people who do this. This is like all they do for a living, to locate where that first place would be. It will influence where we build first.
Sure.
Because we don't want to build a long line, even if we're eventually going to build it. We don't want to build a long line just to get there. If we've got somewhere else we can start and get a circuit there, it might affect that initial build. That is the location of the initial build.
And then the other question I have is let's say the system's totally built out, we're 18 months out, and you've connected to everybody that was an existing customer of Kenergy. Now I build next door to somebody, and so there's a new construction there. And I know there's cost of building a home connecting to Kenergy. So I'm assuming if I want your internet service, that would just be a part of the construction of the home. Y'all don't come out and do that.
Yes, so the way we build with electric co-ops, since electric co-ops are not static, they continue to be new homes, they continue to build electric service. If you think about it, it becomes easier, because let's say they're building to a new home, a new subdivision, and that new subdivision, they'll put in a trench in order to put their electric lines. Well, at the same time that they're going to put in a conduit, at the same time they've got a trench open, we'll put in a conduit for fiber.
Okay.
So it makes the construction, the ongoing construction, easier, and that's true. All right, look, there are some electric co-ops in parts of the country that don't grow.
Right.
But just about everybody grows a little bit.
Right.
1%, 2%, 5%. So it's a natural part of keeping up with the electric co-op. It's again part of, we're not looking for new homes being built that's on some other electric system. That's not our natural way of looking at the world. We'll look at, I remember I was traveling once with a fellow from Google Fiber, and we were showing him some parts of networks we were building. And he went out for a run in the morning, and he came back, and he said, "Oh, I get it now." I said, "What?" He said, "When you guys say you follow power," he said, "I was running across a field, and of course, the electric poles ran across the farm to get to different points on the farm." He said, you're not building along the road and up a driveway. You're following power, meaning you're following where the electric lines were built years and years ago. So you're building in the most efficient way because that's where you have to go. Any place that has power, they might have a need for a fiber connection. And that might be on farms that will have multiple connections because they may need not just internet to the residents or internet to the business office. You know, someday it's a lot of different agricultural devices. You know, like grain silos and chicken coops, and I mean, you name it, you want to monitor a lot on the farm. And it's not all just done wirelessly. If you get fiber to the farm and fiber to certain parts, you'll be able to have this enhanced, you know, what people refer to as precision agriculture. So we'll continue to grow as the electric co-op grows because we're building to be part of their network for the long term. And again, it's Kenergy's network here.
Sure.
When they build another mile of electric line, they're going to need that additional mile of fiber too for their electric business.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner?
That's all.
All right, before I go down to you commissioners, I have another question, and this shows you how untechnical I am. What's the website? I didn't know that fiber, I don't know what that question is, maybe.
So probably for when people are going to sign up for service, we will
okay.
publicize it. We'll do it both in partnership with Kenergy and through our own service, which is called Conexon Connect. You can see in the corner, or Connect. And we'll make sure that that's public. If you want to just look at our website and what we do, you can look at Conexon.com or Conexon.us, both domain names.
When it becomes available and when
Exactly.
people should start looking at connecting, you will make that available, and if you would get it to Jordan Road, we'll even put it on Daviess County's Facebook page.
Right, because they'll be able to connect, they'll be able to sign up and use, that's probably what the question, like a website for
I'm gonna
signups.
assume, yeah. What's, well, and again, you've already answered this, what's the number of homes that this service will reach and be available to, 15 to 20,000, based on?
So
the best information
we
have?
will build, so this is, y'all do and should think in terms of homes and businesses. We think in terms of electric meters.
Okay.
We will build to all the electric meters. I often will say, you'd be asked a question like that, and I like know the number of electric meters, but I have no real idea of the number of homes other than, it's like 80 to 90% of the number of electric meters are homes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think the figure is it's 15 to 20,000. It's, if it wasn't clear before, it's everything outside the municipal area. So we're not building into where the municipal fiber.
The municipal fiber, OMU
Right.
fiber is located.
We're not overbuilding that. We're not competing against your
But
network
do
here.
understand that some areas inside the corporate limits of the city of Owensboro are Kenergy customers, and that fiber will flow into those Kenergy homes.
Exactly.
Yep.
We're not competing against the municipal fiber network. It's maybe the.
All right, here's one, and I don't know, what sort of latency would we expect?
Yeah, so it's fiber. The latency is as close to, single-digit milliseconds
Close
as
to
you
the
can
speed of
get.
light as you can get, I would assume.
It's as I have fiber into my home and have for a lot of years, and so I know for some people, and in this case, my kid who played a lot of video games, he would complain when the ping, the sort of the latency, when he was playing one of these, multiplayer, whatever, killer games. If it was too, right, the latency too great, meaning his reaction time would be too slow, the reaction of the figure that he was manipulating on the screen was too slow, he'd get frustrated. So the latency is as fast as you can get today because, again, it's fiber, it's speed of light, it's milliseconds. Our requirement from the FCC is it's got to be faster than, it's got to be faster than 100 milliseconds under the FCC requirement. I think when I was there, we were toying around with whether to have requirements faster than 30 milliseconds. It's faster than that. It's it's as good as can be done today.
What is Davis County paying to Jonathan's company? We're paying $10 million. That was part of the agreement, and that's coming out of ARPA funds, not coming out of the pockets of, directly out of the pockets of our local taxpayers, knowing that all tax money, including what we get back from the federal government, comes out of some taxpayers' pocket, but it's $10 million, and for the $10 million, we are going to be providing broadband to those areas of the county that would have to wait forever to get it because there's just not the density there. And that's one of the things that we looked at. One of the things that have made us really pursue this is that we know it's all based on money. Look, corporations, entrepreneurs, anybody that's in the business, you've got to get a return.
Sure.
And if you don't have the people, the density there, it takes a lot longer to get that return. And capital is limited. Capital is just like a tool. People talk about money being some god in the sky. It's just another tool that companies use to do the things they do. And without the $10 million in capital, as I said, it would take a while. And that's always been part of the problem, I think, until the federal government started just to dump tons of money in. It was just too expensive. You could get broadband to dense populations, particularly inside of urban and suburban areas, but you could never get it to where Jonathan has talked about, out into the rural areas, and they need it as much as they do inside, and you may see a boom in economic development in those rural areas once that broadband is there. So before I ask any, I'm going to go, Commissioner, do you have anything that you would like to ask?
No.
Commissioner?
I'd just like to thank you for the presentation. I think you did a really nice job, and one of my concerns was the pricing for the lower income people, so they'd have same opportunity to get on the internet service as the rest of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Last question I have is, and again, we've already answered it, I think, will the fiber connection be symmetrical, meaning upload and download speeds are the same? And yes, they are. It's 100 up, 100 down, or gig up, gig down, or 2 gig up, 2 gig down.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the design of all fiber networks.
Right.
I know this wasn't part of the question, we deploy a technology that's called XGS-PON. XGS-PON, it would allow us to provide 10 gigabit per second symmetrical service to the home. Even I don't see a need for that yet. Yeah. It was less than a decade ago that people were making fun of gigabit service that Google was talking about at the time. I think that's going to become our lowest service tier in a couple of years. The reason is, it's not that there's a single application, a single device, some fancy new game, or even streaming, say, 8K TV, which takes a lot of bandwidth. It's the multiple devices in every household. I met with the head years ago, with the head of Bell Labs, who, a great American institution. At the time, I think they were still owned by AT&T. He said they projected that the number of devices in the home connected to the internet would be 10 devices per person. So now, that's reality. The average household has 10 devices per person connected to the internet. They're not all bandwidth hogs, but there are Ring doorbells, and there are phones and laptops and television sets and multiple television sets and Xboxes, and then other things like washer dryers. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a fellow tell me a story. He said, he came home one day, there were 3 boxes of laundry detergent on his porch, 3 shipments. And he went inside and he asked everybody, who ordered all the laundry detergent? And nobody fessed up. And finally, they discovered that their teenage daughter had seen a button on the side of the washer dryer, and pressed it, and nothing happened. So she pressed it again. Nothing happened, so she pressed it a third time, and when nothing happened, she left. The washer dryer ordered itself laundry detergent. So again, you could add all that up, and it may still not yet add up to 2 gigabits per second, but to me, 2 gigabits per second is a type of freedom. You're not thinking about whether, one of you earlier mentioned to me that when you listen to music at home, well, I'm going to get somebody in trouble. Your wife complains that you're interfering with her watching like a Netflix show or something. You don't want people competing within the household for using the internet. That's what this brings everybody.
Years ago, as a mechanical contractor, if you wanted to set the temperature in your house, you had to walk up to the thermostat and set the temperature in the house. Now I can be anywhere in the world, set the temperature in my house, monitor the temperature in my house, monitor the water heater, monitor the flow of water into the home. As you said, I know who's ringing the doorbell, all of those kinds of things. And actually, a lot of the complaints that we have heard about broadband service over the years has been, well, I've got it, but when my son starts playing video games, I can't watch TV or I can't do this. And when it first became available, when you first had to dial it up on the computer and hear the phone ring, that was great. I was fine with that. It was fast enough for me until I knew what was out there. And, you didn't have enough capacity to increase it any. So anyway, we may as well put in what we think will take care of us going forward in the future. Anything else?
I'm curious, when you say you think there's going to be a time where the 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabytes is going to be their minimum, do you have a timetable? I'm just curious. You thinking in a year, or you thinking in 10 years? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I started in the internet industry when the internet commercial industry started, meaning I started in the broadband industry when the cable companies I worked for started building broadband networks in the early mid-1990s. We were kilobits per second then. Mm-hmm. Between the mid-2000s and the mid-2000 teens, usage in the home grew from 2 or 3 gigabytes a month to 200-300 gigabytes a month. In the COVID period, we were in the terabytes. Mm-hmm. That growth, so that's usage in the home. That's streaming services, multiple streaming services. My kids, when they watch TV, if they're going to watch TV, they're also on a phone doing something, usually also doing some. The usage is a little bit like the computer industry, where the chipsets that were able to produce faster and faster, that is, people who were developing software kept developing software as the computers and then laptops could handle it, because Intel and Microsoft and everything were enabling it. You see the same phenomenon here. As people start working now from home more and producing things from home, I think we're at another stage where there's another explosion. But the internet has been filled with this kind of growth for a long, long time, 100-fold in 10 years, and then another 100-fold in the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. I would drop the 100 megabit service today, but there's still a place for it for folks. Okay. I would we just launched 2 gigabit service last fall. We as a company. AT&T now promotes they've got 2 gigabit service and 5 gigabit service. I expected when we launched our service, we'd get about a 5% take rate, 2 to 5%. That was my projection. I was way off. I'm not bad at projections. I think you don't err when you're projecting on the high side in this industry. I think we go from 1 to 2 gigabits, and then 5 gigabits becomes a service offering, and 1 and 2 become the norm. And the reason is how people use the internet. Mm-hmm. And once you've built fiber networks everywhere, so this is the thing that has held back is for years and held the nation back. For years and years and years, parts of the country were still just existing on the old copper networks. That's true today too, but the money, the American Rescue Plan Act money, and the comment that you made and the question that came in, this ARPA money was meant for broadband. There were permissible uses. You could do water systems and for sewage systems and broadband. This was a permissible use. When this new chunk of money starts coming, that is the Infrastructure Act, and the state of Kentucky is going to get $500 million more dollars. It's a reason to be ahead of the line.
Right.
You will see fiber networks built throughout the country. That wasn't true even 10 years ago, but now everyone, it's whether you talk to AT&T or Windstream or CenturyLink, they're all talking fiber now. That enables these faster speeds, which enables this type of virtuous cycle where people develop more, build things that can use that capacity. And so I think it's yes, within this decade, I think 1-2 gigabits per second is not only standard, it's probably viewed as, not broadband by the end of the decade.
Right.
You'd have to be 2 or 5 or maybe 10.
We have a couple individuals in the audience. I'm going to give them a chance if they have a question or want to come up and ask a question. At the same time, Jordan, I want the folks who are viewing this and have been sending their questions in to know if they've got a question, they need to get it to me. I have one final question that I will give you after it's over. Any of you guys that are in the audience want to ask anything? I didn't think so.
So this is the final question right there.
This is the
The
final.
final.
Final question.
This is it.
Unless Jordan sends me another one.
But you said it was the final
Hey,
question.
yeah, well, I say a lot of things. And we've answered this one, or I think we've implied it. Where Kenergy easements written to limit the number of cables, wires crossing the property. Understand, we're not crossing, this is in partnership with Kenergy, and we're going to be going down those easements, and Conexon already has those contracts and agreements in place. Correct?
We follow the law, Judge.
Follow the law. Well, Jordan, I don't see anything else,
So that was
George,
the final
but
question.
I do have one more just came in. I'm kidding. Jonathan, thank you very much for coming in. If any of the folks, do you have what? Are you turning it off? Okay.
Jonathan, I want to jump in real quick and just say, I want to thank you and Conexon for being a player and coming to the table when we did our request for proposals. And I was part of the team that met with you and the candidates. And I am as excited about this project as I have been for anything that we've ever done in Daviess County.
Well, I have to say this, Charlie, that other administrations have attempted
Yes,
and
yes.
somewhat successful. This is the first time that I think we've had the opportunity, the other administration included. The money has been available for us to partner with a private group and to partner with a owner-owned utility or a customer-owned utility to provide this service. And it just really pleases me that Daviess County is one of those first, that we're going to be your first customer in Kentucky. And if there is any question as to why we chose Conexon, I think Jonathan just demonstrated he's a wealth of knowledge and very patient. Because things, sometimes it's hard when you have a plumber talking to a lawyer or a treasurer talking to a lawyer or a lawyer talking to a lawyer. Things get complicated, but when you throw the federal government into the mix, it's awful. It's awful.
One of the things that I'm excited about is once you're done with us, I'm looking forward to folks, you giving us as a reference to other communities and being able to say only good things about you. So,
Thank you, Judge.
So-
If I could make one
Sure.
word of thanks to you, all of you. in the recent weeks, there have been questions about the pace we talked about building. So, I know there's this saying that some people use in businesses and life about, under-promising and over-delivering, right? Like that way you won't disappoint. Under-promise and over-deliver. I've never been that sort. There's another phrase that a fellow coined some years ago, kind of an under-promising phrase. He referred to the soft bigotry of low expectations. If you aim low, that's what you're going to get.
Yep.
I have long lived and long sort of worked in my life to promise a lot, because promising a lot then imposes on yourself delivery of that promise. You will achieve more if you expect more of yourself and you tell others that you're expecting that of yourself as well. We have promised a lot in a short time frame. I know that. That puts a burden on us, a burden we take on willingly. And I have told my folks, this is, we're going to meet our obligations to you, and there's going to be plenty of doubters. But the commitment that we make to you, in turn, takes the pressure back on us, which we take on willingly. So I want to thank you for your vision in this, because you're right. Others did not step up to this. And you did. You not only deserve credit, I think more important, the citizens of your county deserve the service that we're going to build.
Amen.
And then the final thanks, I do have to give thanks to Kenergy. They're not in this room. They are a partner of ours. I will say it this way. We work with electric co-ops because electric co-ops were built upon a covenant. That covenant is the American covenant. We the people, not just some people, but all of the people together. Co-ops recognize that. They recognize that the person who lives at the very end of the line deserves the same level of service at the same prices. They work together and have since the 1930s. We believe in that covenant. We live by that covenant. That covenant has bypassed too many for too long when it comes to broadband. And our mission, as it were, is to follow the old traditions of electric co-ops as embodied by Kenergy and other co-ops we work with, to treat everybody, every member, the same, give them high-quality service, do so at an affordable price, and do so as quickly as we can get there. So I want to thank you for the opportunity.
Jonathan, thank you. We normally give folks 5 minutes to do a presentation. We gave you a little more than that. Keith, you can get him, I guess. Jonathan, you don't have to hang around if you don't want to. Keith might have a question or two for you, so I don't know if you do. He's pretty fast. I've seen him scrawling and scribbling before. Thank you again. Jenny, let's go.
Item 2, consideration for approval, A, minutes of the April 21st, 2022 Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and second. You've all had a copy of the minutes in your possession for some time. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next
B-
item.
B, all claims for all departments.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Again, Commissioners, you've all had a copy of the bills due and payable by Daviess County Fiscal Court in your possession for some time. Any questions of the treasurer? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
C, annual standing orders for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Pre-approve certain recurring expenses. Authorize the judge executive to execute and submit any and all court-approved documents.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and second. Mr. Hendricks, are you going to do this?
Yes, sir. The annual standing orders is something we do in conjunction with the budget. As you know, before we are allowed to pay anyone, we must have the claims approved by fiscal court. However, certain payments do not lend themselves to the fiscal court meeting dates. So we file this with DLG. This gives us permission to go ahead and pay payroll and utility expenses when they are due without regard to the court. They still will show up in the claims. We just don't have to hold payment, so we don't have employees writing. The second part of the standing order is oftentimes the court will approve an intent to initiate and execute documents. Oftentimes, the easiest one I can think of is when we do the health insurance. We would approve certain health insurance in a fiscal court meeting. But subsequent to that, we got any number of forms back that's executing that intent. They don't really require another approval. They all fall off that intent. This gives the judge permission to sign those documents when they come in later, as long as the court's intent is not modified. I would recommend approval.
Question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
D, County Clerk's claim for calculation of motor vehicle and boat bills 2022.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and second. Mr. Hendricks.
This is one of the mechanisms the county clerk is legally allowed to help fund their office. In this instance, they've billed us 15 cents for each tax bill. For the motor vehicles and boats, it's 132,589 bills. I have reviewed it, compared it to last year. It appears to me to be in order. I recommend approval.
Question or comment?
I have a curiosity question.
Yes, sir.
How long's that 15 cents been there?
As long as I remember it.
As long as I remember.
Just wanted.
Yeah. I just, again, 132,589 vehicles and boats. No wonder we have traffic jams.
Well, the thing that frustrates me is that the state has, every private business that we deal with tries to incentivize us as customers to do things electronically. Give us an email address where they send us a bill or a link to our bill or something. And why the state has not developed something to save this money, I don't understand. Because it's not just Daviess County, it's every county in the Commonwealth. And it's kind
I
of
will
frustrating.
not even attempt to answer for what the state and federal government do. Any other question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
E, MidAmerica Airpark Development Review Board Resolution and Agreement.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioners, I received this. The City of Owensboro, Daviess County Fiscal Court, and Industrial Foundation own property jointly in MidAmerica Airpark. There was a request to change some of the resolution. I sent to Claude. Claude, you reviewed it, find it all in order, correct? And this just gives me the authority to sign the resolution. Any question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
F, Resolution 11, 2022, and agreement regarding the 2023 county road aid.
Move. Second.
I have motion second. I think this has to do with that hearing that we had right before the beginning of the meeting, didn't it, Jim? Mark, are you going to talk about this?
I do it.
Oh, Jim? Okay.
Yes, sir. This agreement is with the state as far as the county road aid money. This year, we will get the part that's allocated to Daviess County is $1,664,888.63. They hold back a 3% fee for the, forgot the term.
Emergencies.
Emergency
aid,
fund,
yeah.
yeah, for the emergency fund. Our first installment, which we'll get in probably July or August, will be 60% of the total minus the 3%, or $968,965. The remaining payments will be subject to the actual revenue collected.
Question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
G, Amendment to the Food Service Partnership Agreement for the Daviess County Detention Center.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Commissioners, this was sent to us by Jailer Maglinger. I'm assuming you reviewed it, Claude, and found everything to be in order. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
H, Commercial License Agreement with AT&T for Structure Access.
Move to, second.
I have a motion second. Jordan, I think you were talking to me about this the other day. Explain it.
Yes, sir. This agreement is to attach ham radio equipment to the existing AT&T pole in front of the Schertzinger facility for the Daviess County Emergency Management Agency. This equipment was previously housed at the courthouse when EMA was located here. However, now that they have relocated, the antennas must be near their facility to hook directly into their equipment on site. The agreement is for a 5-year term with a one-time installation fee of $500. Legal has reviewed the agreement and found no issues. The fee is a budgeted expense, and I would recommend approval.
Question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
I, roadway resurfacing list for fiscal year 22-23.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion of approval, or a motion and a second. Engineer Brasher.
Yes, Judge, I've had this list to fiscal court members for a couple of weeks now. What I've got in front of you is the Public Works recommendation for fiscal year 2022, 2023 roadway resurfacing. If you would, I'll read them.
Please.
East District, Woodland subdivision off of Kentucky 54, all of the county streets, total of .908 miles. Barclay Avenue off of Summit Drive for a distance of 0.123 miles. Daniels Lane from Kentucky 144 to Hayden Road for a length of 1.288 miles. Wrights Landing Road from US 60 to Kentucky 2830 for a distance of 0.441 miles. Brent Gray Trace from Thurston Dermont to the end of the cul-de-sac for a distance of 0.152 miles. Grandview Road from Kentucky 334 to Upper River Road for a distance of 2.131 miles. Iceland Road from Iceland Spur to the end of the cul-de-sac for a distance of 0.701 miles. Free Civil Road from Kentucky 144 to Pinch Road for a distance of 1.326 miles. Ossip Lane from 4th Street to Railroad Tracks for a distance of 0.421 miles. That gives a total distance of 7.491 miles in the East District.
Those East District roads, Commissioner Colger, I'm assuming you've had a conversation with the engineer and you're in agreement?
Yes, I am, Judge.
Okay, let's go to the Central.
Central District, Nally Road from Kentucky 140 to Greenbrier Road for a distance of 1.549 miles. Burton Road from Kentucky 298 to US 231 for a distance of 2.215 miles. Sands Road from US 431 to Browns Valley Red Hill Road for a distance of 0.251 miles. That's a total distance of 4.015 miles in the Central District.
Commissioner Castlen, I'm assuming you've had a conversation with the county engineer, you're in agreement?
I am.
Okay, next one, West District.
West District, West Fifth Street Road from Worthington Road to the city limits for a distance of 0.814 miles. Laketown Road from Keene Road to the county line, a distance of 3.157 miles. Windy Hollow Road from Kentucky 1514 to Lonesome Pine Trail, a distance of 0.601 miles. Windy Hollow Road from Old Highway 81 to approximately box number 4325 for a distance of 0.706 miles. Fern Hills Woods subdivision off of Medley Road, all the county roads for a distance of 0.744 miles. That gives a total distance of 6.022 miles in the West District.
Commissioner Wathen, you've had a conversation with the engineer, I assume that you're in agreement?
Yes.
If you look at it, you'll see 48% of the, 46% of the roads are in the East District. We're gonna spend about 48% of the money there.
Correct.
20% of the roads are in the Central. We're gonna spend about 19%. 34% of the roads are in the West District. We're gonna spend about 33% of that money. We try to balance it out between the districts. Some years, if there needed to be paving, more paving in the Central and less in the West, that happens. Some years it'll go the other way, but it balances out. I really like the way a commissioner form of government exists and works, because the commissioners work together to make sure that they don't pave sections of road. As example, in a magisterial form, you might have a magistrate in District Number 1 pave a road, number two say no, and number three say yeah, so you're gonna have kind of a patchwork, so it works out really well. Mark, I've noticed we're down a little bit on the amount of roads that we're paving. I would assume part of that is we're doing some subdivisions where there's curbs, gutters, milling, they're wider, yada, yada, yada.
Correct.
And the cost of oil is
It's gone up.
through the roof. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
This is costing about $1 million worth of road servicing.
This is 1.38 million worth of projects.
Thank you.
And I would say, I would tell the folks out there that at some point toward the end of the year, we will do like we have done in the past, and we will come back and look at maybe doing another $500,000 worth of paving. It will just, a lot of it will depend on our budget and what may happen.
This year, we're way ahead of this number, right? How many road
Yes.
miles we doing this year?
This year, I think it's approximately 38 miles in this current fiscal year.
Commissioner, we've averaged 35 miles, 36 miles a year for the last 12 years, which is, that's what people pay taxes for, and we give them what they need. Any other question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next item.
J, award the following bids: 17-2022, one new boom mower, Road Department; 18-2022, one new four-wheel drive utility cab tractor, Road Department; 31-2022, one new flatbed equipment trailer, Road Department.
Move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion second. Jordan, you know the drill. Read each one, give us time to comment, and then we'll vote on it as a whole. First item, Jordan.
Certainly, Judge. Beginning with 17-2022, this bid is for the provision of one new boom mower for the Daviess County Road Department. We recommend award to the only bid received from Tiger Corporation for the 2022 Tiger Bengal unit in the amount of $76,002.40. This is a budgeted replacement. There were no exceptions, and I would recommend approval.
Any questions? Mark, just a quick one, and you may not remember it. In this case, were we close to budgeting the amount that we're gonna end up having to pay, or are we paying a little more?
On this item, I
Yeah.
think it's real close to what we had
Very
budgeted.
close. Okay. And that's amazing compared to what has happened to prices.
And is this strictly a mower? This is not one of those that we use to whack off trees?
This partners with the next item. This is the over-the-rail mower. This is just the arm.
Just long arm, and
long
sit over there with
arm,
a bush hog on an arm.
Gotcha.
Next item, Jordan.
18-2022, this bid is for the provision of one new four-wheel drive utility cab tractor for the Daviess County Road Department. We received two bids ranging from $90,740.20 to $93,008.04, and recommend award to the lowest and best evaluated bid submitted by Deere & Company for the 2022 6110M John Deere unit in the amount of $90,740.20. This is a budgeted item. There were no exceptions, and I would recommend approval.
Questions or comments?
I had a question.
Yes,
Is this about a 70 or 80 horsepower tractor? Could it be that large?
I can get you that answer.
Thank you.
Any other question or comment? Next item.
Bid 31-2022, this bid is for the provision of one new flatbed equipment trailer for the Daviess County Road Department. We received three bids ranging from $18,765 to $27,900, and recommend award to the lowest and best evaluated bid submitted by Stephen L. Green Trailers for the 2022 SLG 12-ton unit in the amount of $18,765. This is a budgeted replacement. There were no exceptions, and I would recommend approval.
Commissioners, questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, on the estimated delivery on the high bid, what's that ARO?
Oh, after receipt of order.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That tractor would be 100 to 174 horsepower depending, just for your information, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
We have high-speed internet in there. Any other questions or comments on any of those quotes or bids? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item, Jenny.
K, hire Travis Bartley as seasonal park attendant effective upon successful completion of pre-employment screening.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. As commissioners, as you know, we are continually looking for park attendants, and I want to thank Mr. Bartley and welcome him to the workforce. Any question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
L, hire Bryant Taylor as utility laborer effective upon successful completion of pre-employment screening.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. Mark, new employee, new body, or is this a replacement?
This is an existing position, someone left.
Okay, so
county
we're
service.
filling, and I'm assuming replacing the next guy that we're promoting. Okay. Any question or comment, commissioners? If not, I want to welcome Mr. Taylor to the Daviess County team. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next item.
M, promote Colton Lanham to Public Works Senior Heavy Equipment Operator effective May 6, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and I want to send our congratulations to Colton on his promotion. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next
3,
item.
consideration for discussion, A, first reading of KOC A.102, 2022, fiscal year 2023 annual budget.
Commissioners, this is the first reading of this ordinance. Mr. Hendricks, will you take us through?
For the budget for fiscal year '23, the assumptions are that there were no new taxes, no additional taxes, and no additional debt. I'll read the appropriation for each fund and also know that there's a revenue amount of exactly the same amount as the budget is balanced. The general fund is $49,691,163. Road fund, $6,633,713. Jail fund, $10,157,695. LGEA fund, $841,000. Bond fund, $5,431,550. The total solid waste funds, $27,450,900. Economic Development Fund, $1,344,000. American Rescue Plan Act Fund, $19,900,000. And the new County Clerk Permanent Storage Fee Fund, $250,000. Total budget appropriations, $121,700,021. This is first reading. Second reading should be on June the 2nd.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? I want to thank each of the commissioners here. They are liaison to a lot of departments. They spent countless hours with their department heads, with the treasurer, with myself, developing the budget. Mr. Hendricks, I appreciate you pointing out there are no new taxes in this budget and no new borrowing. I know that when 12 years ago, when some of us came into the new term, we were left with $46 million in debt. This term will go out, leaving $8 to $10 million in debt. So not too bad reducing that debt load in that period of time. So this is, a copy of this budget is available. It will not be online, folks, until we get it back from the Department for Local Government, who approves it according to form and balance. And then we have the second reading. Once we have the second reading and it becomes official after it's published and we've had the second reading, then we'll place it online. If you have any questions or comments about it, you're certainly free. Please feel free to give us a call. If you want a copy of it, it is available. That's about it. I'm glad the budget season is over, so hopefully the DLG will accept it. If there are no other questions or comments, Jenny, next item.
B, other business to be brought before the Daviess County Fiscal Court. I'm not aware of any.
I have none.
C, public comments.
This is time in our meeting in which we would ask the public to come forward, identify themselves at the podium. They're welcome to speak on anything other than what was on the agenda. It's kind of nice. Last time, was our first meeting in April was the first meeting that had been open to the public to speak for 2 years, I think. And we had been taking questions and comments off of Facebook, so it's really nice to have the courtroom open for people to come in again. And of course, if you have questions or comments, you're always welcome to call 270-685-8424, 685-8424, and ask for Jordan Johnson, and he'll answer any question you have. Right, Jordan? That's what I thought. Jenny, I guess we have no public comment. Next item.
D, comments by Daviess Fiscal Court.
Commissioner Castlen?
I want to thank the people who put together Owensboro's part of the National Day of Prayer. It's always very well done, and it's normally on a courthouse lawn. Today it was at, I think it was First Baptist Church because of the rain. And anyway, it was very, very powerful experience. And I was going to say congrats to, you might be able to help me, but I think it's OCTC, their robotics team or whatever is
Innovation Academy, I think. Yeah, Owensboro Innovation Academy.
Yes, and they're competing in the, I think the world's world competition for their
Well, you know,
gadgets
Commissioner,
that they make.
if you can't remember, I can always just give you a name. and,
You could,
I mean,
you
that's-
could.
Okay.
But anyway, I wanted to congratulate them and wish them well on their efforts.
Okay.
So,
Anything else?
no.
Commissioner Wathen?
I have nothing. Pass.
Commissioner Culver?
I'd like to thank Mark stepping up to the plate, getting the parking lot at Horsespark Spray Park asphalted. Looks
Neat.
great, striped, and I know a lot of people's ready if you take the signs down so they can get in there.
Tomorrow.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
Just a couple items. First, I want to send condolences to the First Lady of the City of Owensboro. Barbara Watson lost her mom last week, so on behalf of all the citizens of Daviess County, we want to send our condolences. And secondly, send our condolences to Jerry Fisher and his family. Sylvester Fisher passed away, a wonderful man and a really a great agricultural man, a farmer in Daviess County. Those two folks will be missed. So with that, if there's no other business to be brought before Daviess County Fiscal Court, without exception, we're adjourned.